Hey YouTube, what is going on? Got a new video for you here today, and I'm going to have two NU battles in one video, which is always great. I am going to be using this new team, which is fairly offensive for the most part, as I do have 3 setup sweepers. But my opponent's team looks like that they only have 1 sweeper, and that is Shedinja. Kangaskhan really can be, but he's not always meant to sweep. He's usually just a wall breaker typically. So my main goal is going to be to prevent the Shedinja from setting up in any way. So if you like this background right here, the link will be in the description. It only works for Google Chrome. But yeah, so anyways, lead off with my Simisage and then double switch right in, or pull a switch right into my Haunter, predicting him to go into Mill Tank. So I do set up a sub and they do switch predicting whatever really, but you'll see this Mana Buzz set is slightly weird. So I continue going for the Sludge Bomb, hoping to get the poison, and I do get it on the second one, which is great. But then he goes for the Tailwind, so that's a little bit weird. And then he's just going to go for the Roost, so this is a pretty strange set. Then I just go for another Sludge Bomb, trying to wear him down. I am behind a sub, and it doesn't seem like he has Whirlwind, so I disable whatever move he's going to go, hoping to hit him with the disable on the Roost, but I do see his only attacking move is going to be the Foul Play. So I am going to go into Torkoal, hoping to spin away the rocks, because they can be a bit of a bother with Beedrill and my Torkoal. So he is going to Toxic me, but it's not really a huge deal. And I guess I'm not really going to spin him away up until he goes into his Alomomola, so I am threatened out by the possible Scald or the Waterfall. But I just stayed in at this point and went for the Yawn because I really didn't want this thing staying in and trying to Toxic stall whatever I've got. So I do force a switch, and he goes right into Mill Tank, and I just switched right into Simisage, knowing I can take on anything on his team now that rocks are up. So I do miss the first Focus Blast. This isn't a huge deal, but Simisage is going to put in a lot of work in this battle, you will see. So I do go for the Nasty Plot, not really sure why, probably because I didn't think he could do much, but I go for the +2 Life Orb, Hidden Power Ice, and that one-shots the Mana Buzz from that range. Now, I thought this thing would go for the Fake Out Sucker Punch combo, but I don't know if he has Fake Out, because he just goes straight for the Sucker Punch as I go into my Gurdurr, predicting some type of move that it has priority. So, went for the Bulk Up, and then thinking now that he's going to go for the Rapid Spin, I go into my Haunter so that I know the rocks will kill the Shedinja. So, that's my main goal at this point, and I was going to try and disable his Scald, but he does switch into Kangaskhan. Now, he does the exact opposite of what I thought he would do here. I thought he would go for Sucker Punch first, expecting an attack, and then the return. But he goes for the return and then the Sucker Punch, so didn't really work out, because at this point, Gurdurr really isn't a huge asset to my team at this point, knowing that he has a Alomomola who can take it on extremely well. And once again, predicting the Rapid Spin, he does in fact go for it this time. I am going to go into Haunter, and I'm just going to go for a Sludge Bomb, as it's the most powerful move I have on this set. Now, he does go for a Scald, hoping to get the burn or just get damage on this, but I do get the poison on the Wartortle, and that will be great for me. And I do go for another one, and that does nearly 50% to a Alomomola, so Haunter is putting in work. So he does go for the knockoff. There's a fair chunk of damage, but I do lose my only form of recovery, which is unfortunate. But at this point, I can just go for whatever move I choose. I go for the Shadow Ball, not really sure, probably just should have gone for another Sludge Bomb. But either way, he is going to go into his Mill Tank, and he's going to go for the Heal Bell to get rid of the poison on his Wartortle and Alomomola. So I go in here, thinking I can do whatever I want really, because I do have the type advantage with the Gurdurr, and he is going to switch out and go into Alomomola, able to take it much better. And as you can see by that damage, after lefties, it's going to be a 3-hit KO. And knowing that he has the Wish, that 3-hit KO is not going to be happening. So he does go for the Wish, followed by the Protect. Probably should have seen that coming and gone for another Bulk Up, but like I said, Gurdurr's not a huge asset to my team at this point, as Alomomola can take anything it wants to dish out at it. So he does Toxic me, giving me the Guts boost, which isn't a huge deal, really. It benefits me much more, because that Drain Punch does a lot, but losing my Eviolite at this point from the knockoff, I don't really mind once again, because Gurdurr's not a huge deal. As long as I have Haunter to take on Alomomola and pretty much the rest of his team, Simisage should also be able to do a lot of work. So knowing that he's going to think that I'm going to go for the Giga Drain, he's going to go into Kangaskhan. I do in fact go for it, because anything on his team is not going to want to take that, assuming that Miltank doesn't have Sap Sipper. Go for the Focus Blast, take out the Kangaskhan. That is awesome. So goes into his Miltank, hoping that he would live it or I would miss, but that is not the case, and he is just going to forfeit. Now, I would have one-shotted the Lomomola and War Turtle easily from the range that they were at, and Showdown would have died to rocks, so we are going to the next battle. So, looking at their team, it is extremely defensive outside of Braviary and Gorbis. Really, that's the main point of this guy's team, is to set up hazards, kind of annoy with Tangela, but Gorbis and Braviary are big threats. I'm not so much threatened by Throw, because I know they typically have Payback and Circle Throw, and Haunter can take that on very well with my sub-disable set. So, I lead off with Torkoal once again, and they go into their Bastiodon as their lead. So, I know I can get up rocks, as it doesn't look like they have a spinner, so those are there to stay, which is great, but I kind of played predictable in these first few sets of turns right here, as he is going to go get up his rocks. I unfortunately don't get the burn on the Lava Plume, so he will have his Sturdy eventually, as he continues to protect, and like I said, I did play quite predictable here, continuing to go for the Yawn or the Lava Plume, so he's slowly Toxic Stalling me. I do see this, and I go into Simisage. Not really sure, he went for Protect twice there, and then he continues to go for it again, so he really loves Protect with Bastiodon, but he does see the Focus Blast coming, and thinking that he would switch into Musharna, I went for the Nasty Plot, hoping that Giga Drain would do more than it did. It didn't quite do enough to where it would one-shot it, but, you know, Simisage is still a pretty good Pokemon than you, but unfortunately, from the T-Wave, I am going to be slower and go down to a Crit Psychic. I don't think it mattered, but I am going to go into Haunter, thinking he'd switch out, I could get a free sub, but I think he sees that coming, and then I go for a Shadow Ball, and surprisingly he doesn't switch. Probably went for the T-Wave, expecting the disable on the Psychic, probably, but anyways, I do go into my Torkoal, knowing I can hopefully take a hit, but not really. This thing might be banded, but I'm not really sure. So, going to Samurott, knowing I should be able to live a hit at around full HP, get up a Swords Dance. I am in Torrent range, and I know that +2 Torrent boost hit Aqua Jet will knock it out. So, goes another Tangela, and this thing had done its job, taking out the big threat that is Braviary. Go for the Megahorn on the Tangela, it does a large amount of damage, and now I go into my Beedrill. Now, I was going to go for the X-Scissor, but I'm thinking, okay, he is going to switch. I can get up a substitute with the Beedrill, and I'm going to go for the X-Scissor, forgetting that it is resisted by, fighting does resist bugs, so that is a poor move on my part, but knowing I'm safely behind a sub, I do start boosting, and he does the same, so now I am going to go for the Drill Run, opt to go for the Drill Run because I know it will take out his sub, and at this point I'm like, okay, maybe if I go for another sub, get my Salac Berry, I'm in Swarm range, maybe it'll do more than the Drill Run, and it probably will, but that does about a quarter. Keep in mind it is a resisted hit and it's a Beedrill, but it still did a decent chunk of damage considering he's a +1 defense, so I do go into Haunter, knowing that I can pretty much wall his set as long as he goes for Payback on my sub, and he does. So at this point I can disable the only move he has to hit Haunter with, so he has Bulk Up, probably Rest, Circle Throw, and Payback, so I am safe to go for whatever I choose. Go for the Shadow Ball, which is basically my safest option, and knowing that most of these do not carry an attacking move, thinking he's going to go for the Roar, I'm going to get extra damage off with the Shadow Ball. He misses his Toxic, which I think could have been a bad thing for me, because had he hit it, I would have one-shotted him with the Drain Punch, and then he could have gone into whatever, but I don't think it matters, because Tangela can take on Gurdurr extremely well, so he gets the Leech Seed off, and at this point, looking at how much he's going to be gaining back, along with putting me asleep, I don't think I'm going to be able to take on this thing very well at all with Gurdurr, so at this point, I'm just going to pretty much leave it in to die, because I know Haunter can take on Tangela very well with Sludge Bomb and Stab, so I do stay in, keep going for the Drain Punch, probably should have gone for the Ice Punch, knowing that it is super effective, but I think I was just focusing on getting more health back, so I do opt to go for the Ice Punch, but it does around the same amount of damage, so no gain, no loss really, but at this point, Haunter's going to come in. I said GG here because I thought it was over, but I do stay in going for the Sludge Bomb, and that does a lot of damage, and he is going to stay in with the Tangela and sack it, so at this point, he does go into Throw, which kind of threw me off because I know that he can't really do anything to me as long as I can disable the Payback, so Not really sure why he did this. He probably should have just gone into Gurdurr and then, you know, finished it there, but he does go into throw at this point. I disable the payback, and he goes for a sub, so I know he can't do anything as long as I have that payback disabled, so I know I'm safe to go for a Shadow Ball without going for a substitute first, and he starts setting up. So once again, I find this to be a weird play as I go for another Shadow Ball, knock him to the range where the next substitute, he won't have enough HP, and one more will take him out. So at this point, all he has left is Gurdurr, and I don't think I can one-shot it. Unfortunately, don't, but that Sludge Bomb still did a huge amount of damage. Nice job, Haunter. You definitely put in some work in this match. Last-ditch effort, almost knocked out the Gurdurr, but it was still my opponent's victory. So that was still a very, very good game. I hope you all enjoyed these two battles. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment, love to know what you guys think. And as always, thank you all for watching, subscribe, and I will see you all later.